Hi friends, and welcome back to Mechwarrior 5 Clans. Today I want to have a discussion about the Wolves of Tukayyid, the latest DLC, talk about pros and cons of the game, and I'm not going to be alone today. Nope, we've got some really good support here in the form of one of the current Mechwarrior Online World Champions. I have enlisted Magic Penglove to be here and discuss the new DLC with me. MPG, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me once again and looking forward to our discussions about clans.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, we've already talked about the game before we had this little discussion here. We've also both played through Mechwarrior 5 Clans Wolves of Tukayyid.
On the highest difficulty as well.
On Trueborn and survived with more or less difficulties, but we survived. Yeah. We survived to tell the tale, right?
Yep.
All right.
No, we didn't.
So let's maybe start just with the presentation of the game. Talk a little bit about the graphics. What are your thoughts on, for example, the new biomes or the new paint job? What is your feeling on that?
I do have to. I'm gonna start like strong, and I'm gonna give some props to PGI. Like, this is probably the best environmental design that they had like across all of their games that they've done so far, like bar none. Like, the environments in this game, and I did play the game on highest settings. Like, I literally played the game at like 4K on stream. Even though I downscaled it on stream to 1080p because Twitch and silly stuff like that, like the bitrate is just not sufficient for 4K. But I played the game at 4K, and it was gorgeous. Like, a lot of levels were gorgeous. There was, do you remember that Citadel level that had that, like, those rain effects, and it was kind of like yellowish? That's the only level that I didn't like visually, but like all the others, especially the bridge level, that white bridge that appears like in the trailer where they showcase like the Naga for the first time. Can't remember what the name of that level is, but that was like a gorgeous map. I even took some screenshots and shared it on Discord to showcase like how good the map looks like in Unreal 5. So like, when it comes to environmental design, not necessarily like level design in terms of like gameplay, but like just environments in the game, I think like PGI did a really good job, and like no previous DLC or a game compares to what they did like in this DLC. So big props to them when it comes to that.
That was what I should like to talk about another biome as well that happens in the DLC, and that is when you investigate a downed big dropship.
Awesome. I loved it. I know, like,
you've got like this burnt forest. It's a hot biome. It's got this burnt forest. You can't see very far and whatnot. And that also looked really good in my opinion. It was really well designed and really added a lot of extra flair to that particular mission in my opinion.
I completely agree. Like, at the start of that mission, I was so impressed with the level design that I actually used the spectator camera. Like, I didn't start playing right away. I opened up the spectator camera and started like looking at mechs, looking at the forest, showcasing people how the forest looks. Because like, how should I put this? There is like a certain color combo that can look really well, and like game designers can sometimes use that. So you have like your whites, you have like a darkened terrain, like dark trees, but then you sprinkle in like fires and like volcanoes and a little bit of blue skies, like not like, but like barely blue skies behind, and like it all blends in so well that I was also like, it was probably my second favorite biome in the game, and I think it also contributed a lot to the mission design in that particular mission. Like, it was, misty, it was mysterious. Like, you couldn't like lock onto mechs. Like, at that point, I already acquired the Naga, so I was like, am I gonna be able to use my beautiful arrow fours? I was not sure, but
hold locks for
they were effective. I took the hill above the dropship itself, so I had like pure like uninterrupted sight lines, and then just sent them. And the funny thing is, like, PGI even deployed like a star of Naga 4s like in that magic. It was really funny seeing like how fast they melt like enemy mechs once. You have
if
like
they don't get melted
4
themselves.
or even 5 Naga 4s like shooting at the same thing. It's just gone from the map.
Yep, that is a lot of fun. We'll definitely talk a little bit more about the Naga when we talk about the mechs themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about the new biomes. I think we both agree that they look pretty good. How do you feel about the new paint jobs that are in the game now? Specifically like the,
I would
the Clan
actually
Wolf
talk
stuff or the
about-
Widowmaker stuff.
I'm not sure I like them much. Like I think they're fine. And this is gonna sound really strange. I unlocked them all by this point, but I pretty much stick to the default like paint job. And this is gonna sound lame, but for some reason, and I don't know if they made like texture improvements to this game, but the textures feel much better. Like even when compared to Ghost Bear. Like this might be a placebo. I might be like imagining things, or maybe I'm playing the game at 4K, so that's why they feel like they look better. But I was so impressed with the textures that I almost didn't want like different like paint jobs to kind of muddy them additionally. So I actually decided to stick with the default paint job in order to see like the mechs that I'm piloting and like their overall 3D geometry and like base texture better than how like if I was to apply a paint job over them, how that's because if you remember the like Mechwarrior 5 mercs and
melted
their base shader, like
textures.
it looks
Looked
ugly.
like melted
It's
candy,
melty
right?
all over the place.
Mhm.
Like I literally have to put like enable that shader mod or install that shader mod for the game to look normal. Like compare that to Mechwarrior Online textures, and Mechwarrior Online textures look better.
Yes.
Or like compare that to Mechwarrior Online alpha textures, and that looks like way better than like even like mercs with the shaders. So like it's kind of weird to see PGI struggling so much with the textures like over time. And I think now in the latest DLC, they're essentially able to get the textures to like a decent enough place where I'm not looking at something that's smudgy, I'm not looking at something that's over sharpened. It like actually feels good. And sure, there's probably like multiple modelers like working at PGI and texture artists. I think Tios also has a part in that, but I was really impressed with how the textures like overall on mechs like looked in this game. I think they're pretty good. And like I couldn't even say that when like when Clan's base game without DLC launched. I didn't really fully like those textures yet. There was still something weird about them. So I don't know what they've done. I don't think I'm imagining things. I think they actually improved them like over time, and they do look better. The part that I'm annoying, like at least the part that annoys me graphically when it comes to Mech 5 Clans is the overall flashiness of like everything. I don't know how PGI like test this game and they keep the muzzle flash the way it is like in the game, like with their very limited cockpit field of view. Like I don't get it. Like maybe they are just that resistant to epilepsy like, or something. But
that is
like,
a point I wanted to get your feedback on as well, because that's something that we all saw.
I just don't know. Like
it.
I was forced to play the game in third person on occasions. Like I was forced to switch out from first person to third person.
Let me guess, Incubus?
Because the effects were so like Incubus was not even the worst thing. I think there were even worse examples. But yeah, I was playing the Incubus and I was like forced to switch out like to because
machine guns and lasers.
I like the punchiness of the lasers. Like for example, like if you take a look how lasers were implemented, like in Mech 5 Mercs, they were weak.
They were really weak, right? They were kind of.
They had like that. What's it called? How is it called when you have like a lot of small dots?
It's like a particle effect on that.
It's not dithering, but it's kind of dithering like on like lasers. You know, you have like a lot of green dots and they're spaced apart from one another, and you know you have like a beam of those. It just like looked extremely weak. So like whenever I would play Mech 5 Mercs, I would also have to install laser mods in order for lasers to look more normal. But like here, I feel like they went a little bit overboard. They boosted them a little bit too much. I really like how MPLs look. They look punchy. They look nice. I like how the small lasers look. But I think like if they dialed it down a little bit, like it would be definitely more appreciated than what we have right now. So yeah.
I mean, look at the Incubus, for example. I was trying to use that in my second mission, and I switched off the Incubus after that, not only because we got better mechs, but also because I couldn't see anything. Between the machine guns shooting from above your cockpit and the lasers shooting from below your cockpit, it was getting so bright And then the level itself was a little bit like foggy, so it also spread the light more, and
it illuminates the fog a little bit, or at least it has that effect. Yeah,
it was definitely too much. But on the paint job side, to maybe cap off that point, I actually really enjoyed the like wolf spiders kind of paint job. I really like that one, and you can mess around with the colors, of course, like, as much as you want. The other ones, I mean, they're similar to what we have in Mechwarrior Online. You got the like the last one you unlock, the number 3, is the classic clan. What is it? Clan Wolf or whatever paint job for Mechwarrior Online.
They have like different types, there's like multiple different Clan Wolf like paint jobs. So I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
I would go with the Wolf Spider one. That's currently probably my favorite. Did you get a chance to try out the new Night Vision, and what are your thoughts on that one?
I hate it. I still don't think it's good enough.
You still don't like it?
I still don't think it's good enough. Nope. It is an improvement, but I think I used it for 60 seconds total.
There was no reason to use it, in my opinion. There was no reason in this campaign. There was no reason to use it. Whereas in the Ghost Bear Flashstorm campaign, for example, when you're fighting on that spaceship, you would have needed it sometimes, and it didn't work there. But I think the way they did it now, with increased contrast, with making it brighter and whatnot, it definitely is way better than the old version, in my opinion. But I didn't see the need to use it. I still want them to implement Predator Vision, Heat Vision, and I want actual reasons to use those.
And if they're afraid like of the Predator Vision, just limit its range, like beyond a certain range, it can become like I wouldn't say like a mush of some kind, but like it wouldn't be as effective at identifying mechs. So you can actually like use the Predator Vision, like if it's night and like at close range, but like make it like less usable for long range targets. So like you can balance Predator Vision without making the Predator Vision the main quote unquote vision that people end up using in a game.
I mean, it's a single player game that you play as co-op. I wouldn't be worried about that, even if it was
you don't have to have like multiplayer concerns for it. So I don't see a problem like with PGI implemented something like that.
I mean, I would say the only point on the graphics side that I still have a beef with is that we still do not have, to this day, a proper zoom in this game, or in any Mechwarrior 5 title by PGI. It is squinting squinting slightly harder.
I completely agree. There are some intricate aspects when it comes to like implementing very big zoom, like in an Unreal game. Like games, I think like even the newest Stalker had kind of problems with its binoculars for some reason. Don't quote me on that. It might completely be solvable, and PGA is just not paying enough attention to it. But I think there are some limitations, like when it comes to like how the game does rendering. Like when you try to implement binoculars change, right? in a game.
If you go with the easiest version of it, it's just a field of view change, right?
I think like it's a little bit more complex than that, but I still think like if they put enough attention into it, like it can be done.
I mean,
I really do think. I just don't think it's super simple. I just don't think like it's super simple, but like it's doable.
Like if you think about simple zoom, for example, for Mechwarrior 5 mercs, modders have definitely solved it. So I don't understand why we don't get proper zoom in a game that is about the clans, but the clans are known for their long range superiority, and then you still don't have a proper way of actually shooting long range. Like you don't want to shoot 1,000 meters.
Yes. Where's the enhanced zooming, PGI? Come on. What are you doing?
See, I think the enhanced zoom, like the picture-in-picture, that is, I think, potentially a problem, because then you're double rendering, and that's going to kill your FPS.
Yes.
It's the same story as if you equip a scope, for example, in Escape from Tarkov or whatnot, and I think it's going to be the same in the Unreal Engine as well, because then you're basically rendering 2 instances, and that is not very conducive to FPS. So I think just like a FOV change could be the thing here, but however they implement it, I just want to see a proper zoom so that we don't have to squint as much anymore.
I mean, we have that now in Mechwarrior Online with the addition of like ASP. Thank God. Like, you're actually able to circumvent. And like the weird thing about Mechwarrior Online Zoom, even though I don't really want to switch into Mechwarrior Online Zoom, but I'm just mentioning it for people to realize, is that it's kind of like digitally enhanced. It's not like a true zoom. So like any kind of projectile leading, unless you're using lasers, is going to feel weird with advanced zoom, where like with the ASP, that's like pure 4x zoom, like in-game normal zoom. It's like normal zoom. It's just like stronger. It's gonna feel like much better. than that. So like if we had to like get some kind of a version of a zoom like added to the game, I would much prefer to have like that full field of view zoom than to have like a picture in picture like small window in the middle. It just handles better and it looks better as well.
Okay, so I think we've touched upon the graphics aspect of it. Let's talk about sound and music. What are your thoughts on the sound and music in the game with the new DLC?
I think it's fine. I think like it's a little bit weaker than I expected it to be. And in terms of weaker, I mean like in the terms of like overall punchiness. Like I had some problems with the audio levels, and like even PGI confirmed it like in my chat. They like on a couple of missions I had music overlapping, like where the same track would play right? Over another over the same track with like maybe a second or half a second delay. So that's especially noticeable when you hear drums. It would be it's not supposed to sound like that. And I'm like, what is this? And I actually had to turn it off like in a couple of missions because it was doing that. So I'm not sure how much I can judge the sound design like in the missions. And there are a couple of missions where like it stopped playing for me. Like I had it maxed out and it just stopped playing. I think you were there on my stream when I was like, why is the music not playing? And I just started playing something on my own, and I'm like,
why has the band stopped playing all of a sudden?
Why has this stopped playing? But like that's probably like things that they can solve. I remember something similar happening like in the previous DLC, which kind of caught me by surprise, like how this like wasn't fixed.
It seems to be a recurring thing.
I don't know, but overall, when it comes to the soundtrack itself, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. Like I need to listen like to like if someone uploaded on YouTube like the full soundtrack like on its own to get a good feeling for it. But in the missions where it did play, it did felt atmospheric. Like for the most part, I think like they're atmospheric, like not the combat, because you know how different games have like different levels of soundtrack. They have like the soundtrack for atmospheric, they have soundtrack for like, you know, those smaller fights, and then they have the soundtrack for like big massive fights, you know, and they kind of alternate between those. Like their atmospheric soundtrack was pretty good, like from what I've heard. But I guess like the fight soundtrack, like the songs that are supposed to be like active during fights and whatnot, that like didn't feel punchy enough for me. But that's really like the only thing I can say before I listen to like the soundtrack separately, you know, outside of the game.
I would say like I found whatever I heard in the music soundtrack pleasant to listen to, but I would have to think about whether there was one soundtrack that really like was as punchy as, for example, some of the stuff that was had in Mechwarrior 5 Mercs, or even if you think back to like Mechwarrior 4 Mercs, some of those soundtracks are super catchy, especially the battle music, and that I don't think that we had that. But overall, I think
I think like with clans, they did want to go like a little bit more into electronic kind of direction, you know, like the previous games did, and with Mercs they, you know, went more like in the rock direction. Like they wanted a lot of guitars, so like maybe the guitar is like what it makes it sound more punchy. But I think like you can do that with electronic music as well.
Good combo.
Yeah, but I still think you can do that with electronic music, like quote unquote. It just needs to be a little bit more punchy. Like that's like my, I guess my judgment on it.
I mean, if I think about the weapons sound design or whatnot, I think that they could use, especially like on the ballistic side of things, or on the missile side of things, I think lasers sound fine, PPCs as well, but ballistics could use a little bit more. Some of the sounds are a little bit weird. For example, if you're using ultra autocannons and you hold down the firing button, you get this like metallic reloading sound that gets very loud and very annoying.
I especially didn't like it on UX2s, like Bane, in that they remember me.
I told you to get ready for ear rape.
It's not even the ear rape. It was not even that it was too loud for me. It was just it was three, you know,
exactly
like
that sound.
It's like I don't know. Like I feel like this could be a little bit different. I guess.
Too much,
I don't know.
So that maybe they could change that. I also would say like. I've had some audio bugs, and there's one mission. I mean, I don't want to spoil it too much. People who haven't played the game, but there is a mission where you have to blow up 3 different, let's say, structures with by calling in like a sort of airstrike or whatever, you have this big explosion, but the ground doesn't shake and there is no sound for the explosion. It just goes. There's no sound. It's just a silent explosion on your screen, and I think either they forgot to add the explosion sound or there is none. But that's something they should fix. And I mean, there were a couple of audio bugs where in the menus, in some menu screens, it would have white noise playing quite loudly.
That's do you know when? I know exactly when that happened. That white noise was actually raining. That was rain.
Poorly mixed rain then. Because it didn't play on the hangar.
Fully mixed rain.
Yeah,
you know, that moment with Rana and like Patrick Kellogg talking about it. That was that level. That level. And like I remember, like I just all of a sudden it's like all over my ears as soon as I'm outside of the Mech Lab screen. Like I'm what is this what is going on? But no, that's actually the environment like sounds being just too loud, like the rain effect being like way too loud.
Yeah,
and I that's something fixable.
And it would
like,
come from different directions.
That would be...
If you were on one screen, it would come from like left, and if you're on the other screen, it comes from the right. Because of course, that's where that's the relation to your screen where you're looking at from right now in the engine, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's environment design just being a little bit too much, like in the menu itself.
But that's all patchable. It wasn't something that was a huge problem. I would say.
Yeah. It's still something that should be fixed, but like it's if I had to judge a game and that was like the thing, you know, like I really wouldn't care much about it.
That can happen, right? Like for example, with our next topic that I think we can jump into now, which is mission design, objectives, enemies, bosses, is something that you wanted to talk about as well.
Yes.
I think from my point of view, like I enjoyed the new story missions, and I enjoyed how intense those missions are getting, especially on Trueborn. Like we were getting our proverbial manure pushed in a couple of times. It was something.
I don't know if I should start talking about the difficulty, if you want to start talking about the difficulty, but maybe it's worth talking about the difficulty before we start talking about like mission design.
Yeah, we can talk about Trueborn.
I think like no one, and I mean no one, should play on Trueborn difficulty. I've beaten the game on Trueborn difficulty, and like the way PGI handles difficulty is just a very, very weird and I would say from like developer aspect, like a weak way to implement like a difficulty. Because like, what is your difficulty? Your difficulty is essentially like accuracy slider and like damage nerf to player. So your accuracy slider and like a damage nerf to the player.
Yep.
That's like one of the weakest things that you can do, like to increase like difficulty in a game. So you're better off, like if you want to have like a more difficult experience in the campaign, and you're someone who's just about to start Ghost Spare or like the base campaign or the latest campaign as well, you're better off just limiting the mechs that you bring, or bringing like weaker mechs on a normal difficulty, than trying to play Trueborn difficulty on with like 100 tons or like
that's gonna
bigger, stronger mechs. I would rather do that than do what they did, because I still feel, and this is one of the biggest aspects. You probably wanted to talk about mission design, but I think it's better to talk about AI and how PGI handles like difficulty scaling first before we go like into mission design. And
that's a good point.
I think like it's just lacking on a lot of aspects. Like AI is still not good enough.
Yeah, but it's still.
I don't know. I can understand the struggle. Like I really understand the struggle. I understand Tori when he says that like it's really difficult to convey to player like what Mechwarriors are doing in the game, and how do you know, like it would be more easier to convey it like with normal like human like NPC than it is with a mech. Like how do you know if that general is just running at you, or is it trying to pull off some kind of a cheeky flank? It's kind of harder to convey. But it's not to say that you can't do that like as a developer. I think it's doable. I think like PGI has just arrived at some point where they consider this is good enough for most people. So we just keep it as it is. And like basically as much as they would deny it, like I'm sure they would say, oh, we wrote like so many more lines of code in order to improve the AI. I'm not really noticing like AI improvements over time.
I mean, like, I'm noticing it.
You can talk about mercs. You can talk about like
from
base
mercs to here, right? But like for example, do you remember how the AI used to shoot their lasers, like not even aiming at the target, and then just basically just doing like a full 180 laser beam shot and stuff like that?
Yes.
Or back shots on you. So that kind of stuff is thankfully gone. But like if you're thinking about for example, Mechwarrior Online, how mech combat works there with shielding with your side torsos and whatnot. Of course, that doesn't happen. It still feels
shielding
like
can be pointless. Shielding can be pointless.
You're trying to shield, but the enemy
Mech
just
5
hit
clans
rolls
because
you, right?
they are throwing dice rolls. They're effectively throwing dice rolls, and I don't understand. Like, I have a clip of me on Twitch, like literally running at 150 kph, jumping, twisting me there, and there is an enemy marauder on the other side, and he just like cuts my head clean.
Yep, that is the classic headshot roll.
So everybody like at that point you realize, oh my god, like my movement doesn't matter at all. Like nothing matters. What matters is like just having like enough tonnage and like,
I mean,
like,
movement adds to your modifier, to your chance modifier of being hit.
It does add to the modifier, but that's like with lasers.
Right.
With lasers, it's still consistent enough on the enemy AI that they will dice roll, like they will dice roll your head off.
And you see it.
You know, maybe there is some
that
like
laser beam doesn't go
because,
anywhere else, even if you're moving. It just stays straight on your combat.
Maybe this is like some kind of an irony, but like, you know, making it closer to tabletop. So like AI is just throwing dice, you know, nonstop. That's how it should be in the game. It's completely intentional. But like I would really want PGI to start working like on things that other game developers have implemented. Like, for example, when you're aiming at a target and you see like a character running, you know, it takes some time for you to adjust your mouse aim to line up with the character and then start shooting. But if that character was to suddenly stop and you continue tracking, you would start overshooting it. And like in the moment of your tracking, you would kind of need some time to align your shots like with the player, and you would be lagging for until you know, hone it in and then actually can start shooting. Like we need that to happen like more in the game. Like you need to kind of emulate those human elements of aim, undershooting, overshooting, like kind of small mistakes. If a player is going to make like a sudden change in movement, so you make like shielding, you make movement like important as well, but none of that is there, and you just have to pray to whatever.
And there's a fake version of undershooting right now, right? There's a fake version.
The dice roll is not gonna be like that bad for you that you just end up like without your head instantly.
I don't know if you noticed
the moment your component becomes open, they will go for it. Like the dice roll increases. They're not throwing one dice anymore. They're throwing 5 dice at your head. So good luck. Good luck.
If it's a miss, I don't know if you noticed that if it's a miss roll, it always goes like slightly below the feet. It always hits like center of the model, slightly below the feet. That's the.
I think like velocity weapons are less egregious because they might be doing something with velocity weapons where, you know, kind of like with velocity weapons they can miss, but with lasers, like with lasers, it's exceptionally, and I mean exceptionally noticeable. It is exceptionally noticeable, and there is none of that lag and none of anything that. And like, let's say that they can't improve on that aspect because everything is tied in, like the ECM effects. Like you see like evasion stats on every character, like that you kind of want to boost, like, and probably one of the most important stats, like that you want to boost in your character. Like I wish they moved a little bit away from that and just implemented those human-like aim elements, regardless of how difficult. Maybe just putting a delay on their aim would be sufficient to kind of like imitate that, even keeping like all the dice rolling stuff like in game. Like I don't know, but they need to find a way to improve it, because like once you realize like how they're doing it, like the game loses a little bit of its magic, I would say. And
well, it depends, of course, how familiar you are with with BattleTech in general, and have you played PvP games and whatnot to actually notice that. But I would say, the more you play it, then at some point you're gonna realize it. Is it something huge that's like game breaking or so? I would say no, but it's something where they could add a lot of like positive feel for the game. If they were able to make that a little bit more lifelike and not as quote-unquote robotic as it is right now. That's definitely an area of improvement, I would say.
Yeah, but even ignoring that, let's say that they can't really improve that aspect. They, for some reason, for whatever reason, still the difficulty handling like in the game through accuracy sliders and damage nerf to player is, I feel like, still bad. Like if they wanted to increase difficulty and they can't improve that mech AI sufficiently enough, then
give us
maybe
mechs.
Like instead of like not throw more mechs, because like the problem with like throwing more mechs at the player, and this was probably more of a problem in Mech 5 Mercs than it is in clans, because they were having to optimize for PlayStation 4 as well,
Mm-hmm.
is like throw like just a little bit more at the player. Maybe instead of like throwing like 4x mechs, throw like 1.5x mechs, and instead of like throwing cicadas at the player that have like 3 lasers on them and die like right away, throw like a slightly more formidable build and like scale difficulty like that way. Make it like lore accurate for the time period, but like try to like scale difficulty that way versus just buffing the accuracy slider and nerfing like player damage. Because if there's like one weak way to do it, that's it. Like don't do that. I think that's a very bad way to scale difficulty.
Is actually the one that I could forgive more than the sponginess, because that is
the sponginess.
The thing that's the thing that just feels very weird, and very often also the thing that disqualifies most weapons. People always ask me, TTB, hey, why aren't you playing like this weapon system or that weapon system? And I always have to tell them I'm playing on Trueborn difficulty, and when I play on Trueborn, then these weapon systems
you're dealing like 0.2 damage.
Exactly. You gotta run the hyper def builds in order to have a chance to actually win this, because you're getting nerfed in your damage, or the enemies get their health increased. So
And coming back to my point, that's why I recommend like everyone, unless you care about the Steam achievement or whatever, don't play on Trueborn difficulty. Play on normal difficulty, but quote unquote self-balance like with your mechs.
Only locusts.
Like play like weaker mechs, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but that was a good point about the difficulty of the game, and about the aim on how AI shoots at you and how you shoot at AI. Let's talk about the mission design, like the new story missions that we have. We had 20 in this DLC.
Yes.
Basically 2 sets of 10 missions. How did
in comparison, just to interrupt you, like Flashstorm was 12 missions. This was like 20 missions.
12, but longer missions, right?
Yeah. I think like PGI is learning, like when it comes to this. I think PGI like slowly over mercs, over clans base game, over like DLCs, like they are slowly learning. And I'll just like I'll draw people's attention towards like how boss fights were done, quote unquote boss fights, or like general fights were done in Mech5 mercs. In Mech5 mercs, one of the annoying things for me is that you would approach a quote unquote a boss. Like I don't know if they defined it as a boss or not. That would be like the main character that you're fighting against, and you would kill him like instantly. Like with your quad gods build, or with your AC10 build, or your PVC build, and you would hear his voice, and it was so off-putting. It was so insanely off-putting that like it was. I think I did that in clans as well, though. Like there's this one mission where you have to kill the guy that is coming out of the dropship. I think I also killed him there before he finished his sermon. Yeah, and I think PGI, I think they listen to that feedback to some extent, and they kind of learn to, like in Mechwarrior, it's really difficult, and I gotta give them credit for this. Like it's really difficult to design like proper boss fights without making them feel like something outside of Mechwarrior and more something that would belong in a game like Armored Core. But you can kind of see that they're trying to do multi-stage missions, because that's probably like the most optimal way to do like quote unquote like boss fights or something close to that, like in a Mechwarrior game, without making it feel like overbearing. And like in I guess like they kind of started it mainly with Ghost Bear.
With your favorite machine.
Yeah. There was a boss battle in Ghost Bear. There were like some boss battles that I didn't like. There were like a couple of hovering helicopters, and people even compared, like, I don't know if you play Armored Core, but like I think it's like it was something even bigger than Sokols, but it might be just Sokols. Like maybe
have you
even
seen
some
the
kind of
video that I
modified
made
Sokols
with the Sokol where the AI bugged out and it was just doing potato 24/7?
I'm not sure.
I need to link in that video. It's hilarious with the potato song in the background.
But yeah, basically some people accuse like PGI of getting inspired by Armored Core, like the first like mission where I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like that helicopter filtered so many players and got so many refunds that like in Armored Core people called it like the Great Filter, and then like people accuse PGI of copying that design,
5?
but
yeah.
6. That's the first mission, like in Armored Core 6.
Yeah, I actually played that, and that thing was annoying. Yep.
that's the helicopter battle, and like it was not the easiest thing. I think it took me like a couple of attempts. So people kind of accused them of like kind of trying to imitate that to some extent. But once again, people need to understand that it's not easy to design like meaningful boss battles in the game, and you don't want to fight aerospace, like you don't want to fight like hovering helicopters or whatnot, but you still need like a boss design where it doesn't get like one shot right away. And you do that through multi-stage. And I do think multi-stage is the answer. And you can kind of see PGI experimenting with multi-stage. I would say like they could make an argument that they did that in Mechwarrior Mercs, but I definitely think that they started doing it like in clans with both base clans game, the first and the second DLC. They kind of evolved, and here, like in the latest DLC, they've pushed that to a great extent, where like a lot of missions feel good. You know, their multi-stage feels good enough. Like, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but like you can definitely see a path of improvement. Where from Mech 5 Mercs and one-shot like main characters, we've gotten to a point where we actually have more meaningful multi-stage mission design.
Bosses that actually look good and
actually
that feel good and that are actually scary. And I mean, and I actually like the last boss fight. And without going too much into detail, I don't want to spoil too much. But the last boss fight is a boss fight that you win by not fighting the boss.
Yeah.
But still, of course, going for mission parameters that makes sense, right?
I mean, what was the name? I'm just gonna leak the name, but like, hopefully, I'm not leaking too much. I can't. Like, it was called. I think it's
Bellerophon, right?
Bellerophon, yeah, Bellerophon, like such a cool name, yeah. Like people will not spoil like anything.
And the visual design on top of that, it just works. This thing was almost jaw dropping. Like they did a really good job of that. And I've also
the funniest thing
same
is,
story, right? Good boss.
I feel like many mech warriors are kind of opposed to that. They kind of see that as almost antithesis to the lore. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the word right, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like anti-lore in some way. And the Rattler in that the mobile fortress, like in that mission in Ghost Bear, I really liked it. Like it was a really fun mission to me. You're kind of following it, you're trying to destroy like its systems. It's kind of like a little bit of a multi-stage thing, and it's definitely like something that's a little bit of a novelty in Mechwarrior games. But PGI got so much flack for that.
And see, I wouldn't agree with that. I would say that was a cool way of implementing a boss fight where you do something else but then shoot mechs, and I think that needs to be commended, even if it's not like what people expect lore-wise. I mean, what you would expect is mechs versus mechs, so maybe some aerospace fight and whatnot. You don't expect like capital ships coming in or whatnot, or something like the Rattler. And I'm like, you know what? It's a game. They can do this kind of stuff as long as it fits within the universe.
Rattler
somehow.
Even exists in the universe. You can link this like as like it exists. It's not like breaking the lore. It's not like doing any of that. But you know, maybe there's like kind of a game implementation that they have to like tweak a little bit to make it more.
And I think that's also something some problem that I see on a personal note. People, and that's everybody included, like to give PGI a lot of flack for the stuff they're doing poorly, and of course some justifiably so. But I also think that we need to be giving credit where credit's due and praise where praise is due. And those bosses, I think, are something that becomes kind of like a little bit more like a strong suit, like a highlight to cap off a certain storytelling unit. And those fights are always interesting because you got to learn something new in those fights.
Yeah. Yep.
So I enjoyed them a lot.
It's not just a mech and shoot at mech and then that's over. And then you one-shot it if you have a strong enough build or are playing on low enough difficulty.
Hello, I am Lore Boss X. I am walking around in my classic build here, with classic lore build, whatever, with like half my armor on the back or whatnot, and then I come around the corner with the 17 medium pulse Widowmaker. Boop.
Yeah, that's done for.
Yeah, exactly. So I think PGI is going the right way there. I would say I enjoyed most of the missions, basically all of the missions. I think especially on some of the longer missions, they could add another 1 or 2 repair bays. There are a couple of them where there are no repair bays. Specifically, the 10th mission that you probably will also remember, because it's very long.
Can you remind me about the elements, because it's kind of hard to just pinpoint the mission like on top of your
mission
head.
that was the last push to capture the last city before you then go off on the eastern side.
Okay.
The 10th mission, I think, is also the hardest mission in the game, because you're fighting oodles and oodles of targets, and there are no repair bays to be found. And that was extremely hard on Trueborn to get through.
People also need to realize, that because of how the difficulty scaling is done in this game, like they're absolute necessity. You will get shot, regardless of like what you have. You will get shot.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter your twisting, your movement, you will get shot eventually. Like even if you use like the best peekaboo behind the building or cover or whatnot,
they're still gonna hit you at some point. Absolutely,
they will hit you regardless of your movement. So like you gotta be like careful, like at least when it comes to like from developers side, like to give players an option. Like maybe don't add like 4 mech bays or like 5, not mech bays, but like repair stations for your entire star.
Just for the
just add 1 or 2 for like stuff that's like super hurt, but
or just unlucky,
like
the cockpit shots that you take sometimes. Right? Let's say you take 2 cockpit shots, you got a red cockpit. Better have a repair bay ready, or you're gonna be ejecting soon. So
your head is on the dice.
That's what I told to Matt directly when he was on my stream as well. Where I said this mission needs 1 or 2 repair bays, and the other ones that don't have any repair bays, it would not hurt to add at least 1 repair bay, just as a frustration avoidance system, I would say. But other than that, I enjoyed the missions. I found they were, for the most part, super intense. You are fighting your guts out, and I really enjoyed that. And I didn't come across too many bugs as well.
I would also say that because like they're not forced to like design stuff for PlayStation 4 as well, they're much more free with how many mechs they can spam on the field.
Yeah,
and the battles feel bigger. Like everything feels more grandiose overall, and it's a really good thing. It's like like the more you can convey that sense of feeling of like massive war, the better it is like for your game. Of course, having in mind like certain like I would probably say performance like limitations, because you don't want to go too much overboard if your game is not optimized enough. And I still think like Clans
especially
is not
in Unreal Engine
like
5.
too well optimized. Like I think it's kind of fine-ish, but it can still be better optimized for like what it's providing. But that's a separate discussion. But like the closer you can get to that massive war scale like feeling, especially like in missions, where that's kind of the point, the better it is. And like I really don't mind seeing like friendly stars or like other clan
maybe
companies
some infantry
or units
in some
like next
point,
to you,
dug in, some artillery shooting around or whatever. Like
I think like they kind of I think like they didn't want to add infantry because like their implementation of infantry in Mech 5 Mercs was really not that good. So they kind of completely scrapped infantry. But that's kind of the one thing that I sometimes get annoyed with PGI with, is they like people say, oh, it would be so good to have like some kind of like it's like banana for scale, That's kind of what I see infantry. They're there to provide you like with a sense of scale. And if you don't have a good sense of scale, then you don't have like a good like mech game in a way, because everything becomes starts feeling like a toy.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like if you find a proper way to introduce infantry, you would like even do better as a sense of scale. And like recently on Discord, I guess I can send you this video just so that you don't forget about it. Like someone made a mod, and they kind of showcased like how the mech battles would look like from an infantry man perspective. So I'm gonna send you this. Like you can include it. Like it's not my video; it's video for someone else.
I mean, on
YouTube.
This point ties directly to the videos, right?
Basically like the better you can convey scale, like in a mech game, the more immersive the game will feel.
Yeah,
and I think that's like really important. And I think like PGI, like even in Mech 5 Clans, is still not doing that exceptionally well. I'm not sure why. We had like rescale mods in Mech 5 Mercs, where like mechs, I feel like still in Clans are a little bit bigger than they should be. or at least like that's my feeling. They're like bigger than they should be. But if you make mechs too big, then you also like lose a little bit of that scale. But it's really hard to illustrate this point without showing like some comparisons. So I might send you like some comparisons like after the stream of like different mods for Mech 5 mercs that kind of do that kind of like, and you instantly get in the cockpit and see like a better sense of scale when mechs are a little bit smaller. So like you're not exactly towering over like cars, like I wouldn't say like 50 times, but you know what I mean. Like it's like a little bit too much.
The thing is, when you look into the video sequences themselves, not the gameplay, but the actual videos that are done in engine, then they're doing a really good job of conveying scale from the normal humans to the elementals out of armor to elemental in armor to the mechs. This is one scene where I think who is it? I think it's Phelan or whatever, or Natasha or Orana coming down from with like an emergency ladder from a mech, and you see her go down like that, and you go like, okay, you get that scale here, and you also get the scale in the initial campaign where the Star is sitting around in the mech hangar and those mechs walk by and whatnot. That definitely the scale is there, but for you inside the missions, that scale is still missing, and you still have a little bit of that, like you said, like this toy-esque kind of feeling sometimes.
It's basically like a toy effect. Yeah.
So if they could do more of that in the missions themselves, and I think that would require them to add infantry, then that would be maybe something for the next title. What did you think about the videos, by the way?
I mean, like all the videos done by Hired Steel guys are really, really high quality, and that was one of the best like decisions PGI could have made for the game. Like regardless of like what they create themselves, like in house. Like every cooperation with the Hired Steel guys, the guys who made those cinematics, like is just jaw dropping. Like they really do it well, and they do sense of scale also much better than PJ does like in games.
I mean, the
like,
videos
if you watch their cinematics, like you get the feeling of that really.
The videos have gotten so good that I would actually say if they said, hey, we want to do like an episodic show or whatever for one of those VOD platforms, let's say Amazon or whatnot. If they were to do that, I would watch that 100%, and
I would watch
have no doubts about that.
I mean,
being good.
It wouldn't be like a new thing. A lot of like animated movies are done in Unreal now, and Unreal like even had to do like a separate pricing scheme for animators because like so many people were using the engine to animate stuff. And I think that's one of the major things like what PGI has improved. And I think like it's important. I can't stress enough how much I was annoyed to read like a wall of text. And I read books. Like we were talking about Metro 2033 and 34 like one day before. So like it's not like I don't like reading. I like reading books. But like I'm playing a game. And I understand like it's an indie studio. But if you spam me with a wall of text before the mission, in the mission, after the mission, at some point it just becomes like overwhelming.
It becomes
like seeing
an
them
interactive novel then at that point, right?
Yeah, I'm really glad that they move away from that from Mercs. Another thing that they did is they are much more careful, like in the missions, with placing the voice lines during like appropriate moments. I'm just gonna call them appropriate moments. Like in Mech 5 Mercs, you would get like a very important like lore moments and like kind of character discussion moments.
I'm sorry,
like,
I can't hear you right now. I'm fighting for my life.
You're fighting. You're like 3 mechs around you, 5 mechs around you, everything blasting, and like now you have to pay attention to what certain character is like talking because like a trigger triggered at some point. So like that's, you can kind of see that they are improving when it comes to that. There's definitely like a certain degree of improvement like with PGI and like that aspect of storytelling in missions, and that's really good to see. But I do have to moving forward. I do have to say one thing is that I still feel like it's fine, but I still feel like a Mechwarrior game and like its mission design should be a little bit more deeper, and like more tactics should be involved versus just like rushing straight towards the enemy and that's it, because that's like what a lot of missions are. And like from the enemy side, it's also most of the time like enemy just rushing straight towards you. So I like, at least when it comes to mission aspects and like things concerning the mission design, I wish they could give players more options to approach like missions differently, because right now you're either creating like your own approach depending on like what mechs you have. Like for example, I used to have like 2 Dyers and 3 Nagas, so I would put like those Nagas behind using the battle grid, like the mech commander system. Also one of the better additions, like that was so much needed in Mech 5 Mercs, and like one of the best additions. Kudos to PGI for implementing that. That could still use improvement, but like kudos to PGI for implementing that. So where I would push like my Nagas, like 3 Nagas behind, and like place the direwolves in front, so direwolves like can kind of defend them, and they could like nuke whatever's coming to us. I'm playing like fully with AI. I'm not even playing with players, but like that kind of stuff, but more organic in a mission where I can have an option. Like let's say there is a secondary objective to not necessarily hack turrets, but maybe even defeat like secondary turrets. And then that would enable you to do something else like in the primary mission, and maybe like you would free up some of your other forces to come and aid you. Like if you end up there are those moments in the game, but I still feel like some other games do that much better than PGA does right now. So I hope they do expand on that aspect and just approaching a certain objective on the map in a more tactical way, in a more reasonable way, versus just rushing in, you know, killing stuff and then proceeding to next objective.
Yeah, let's say, for example, think back to Mechwarrior 4 Mercs. There were a couple of missions where you could just push in straight, or you could take a little detour and maybe take down some turrets or whatnot and then push in. Or there was actually a mission where you had to, like, you were going on a series of missions, and the last mission in that on that planet has you go up against like a big overwhelming force, and you have to basically bug out. And you can do that, or you can kill everything. And then you get commended, but also scolded for being crazy and stuff like that. I think like different ways of doing the missions, or like
that's not just multi-stage. Right? That's multiple outcomes as well. Well, not necessarily multiple outcomes, but like multiple ways to finish the mission.
And not in every mission, but just get a little bit of options in there to make it more realistic. Like for example, yes, you can just storm the front, or you could take that hill and just shoot with the large lasers and laugh at them, or the PPCs or missiles. So those like multiple approaches would add a little bit more, I think. But overall, I mean, that's just us asking for a little bit of like icing on top of the cherry now. Would be nice to have, I would say. Looking forward to that. I have one more point that I would like to touch upon with video sequences, or with the missions themselves, the briefings. The briefings are a little bit of a problem point for me, because of the low res of the briefing table, where you basically can't see nothing, and no animations playing within the briefings themselves. Like not even like cuts to the character's face when it automatically animates and speaks its lines. Nothing like that. We're just standing around the table, and we hear voices from the off talking about what they're doing. And I think that's a
cost-saving measure. I think that's a cost-saving measure. Like they could have like people walking around the table, and then someone points like the finger at the holo table, and then like it zooms in on a holo table like with like a small camera rotation.
Clans base has that, but the DLC doesn't have that, and I'm fully with you. I think that's a cost-cutting method, but
I think that's a cost-cutting method.
It takes away for me a little bit from the immersion.
I think that's fine. I would be fine with that as long as like you said, like they improved like how the holo table works. Like I still remember the Mech 5 Mercs, and like I even received like some criticism from other players, like oh why are you complaining about this? I have like a one stick figure on the table, like not moving. That was what was the name? It's like the character Elias, like Tufexis, or like that's the actor that's giving like the voice line. I know he gave voice lines.
He's doing
Jensen.
Good voice lines, but this character is like a
his character is like just
standing there,
standing still on a table, and like everyone has like kind of a dead face, you know, and they're looking there like. This is the mission briefing.
Reminded me a little bit of the "my face is tired" emote, or meme.
My face is tired. The even more tired here, but yeah, like we've gone like a long way from there to like here in clans, and they can make an improvement, but I think like here in this particular example that you brought up, it was mostly like like a cost cutting. It's not that they couldn't do it; it was just like easier to do it.
Or maybe they can do it for like, I don't know,
here.
half the missions or every third mission or whatever. But just having those briefings be a little bit more lively here and there would add a lot. And I'm not talking about like fully animated with people getting fists in their face and whatnot, what like they had in the Clan's base game.
Just tactics overview.
Just standing there and just looking a little bit left and right.
Yeah.
That would have been, I think, making the briefings better. But other than that, I mean, the video sequences, like you already said, they're great. They're a joy to watch. We get to see so many characters, so many cool scenes, especially if you're familiar with the lore. Little bits and pieces there from other clans and from the lore itself. You get to meet Vlad, you get to meet Phelan, Kel, you get to meet Rana, Natasha Kerensky, of course. Has so many cool characters.
She does a couple of things off screen, but like it's fine. Like, that's okay. Yeah, I do have to say, like, speaking about that, I think I like the character dynamic and chemistry between the characters more in Ghostbear and the base like clans game. Like I feel like here we really only got to see like a little bit of chemistry between Patrick Kell and Rana. That was like a funny moment. But like other characters, like it didn't really seem to me like they
Phelan
mattered all
not
that
Patrick.
much.
Patrick is the other guy. Patrick's dead.
Yeah. Sorry, Kell. Yeah. I guess I mixed
Patrick got Yuri Nagat.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I like that. Yeah. I liked it a lot. I also like to see a different side of Vlad. I remember Vlad from the novels as being really annoying, and I actually didn't like the character, but he's actually like more believable and interesting. I feel how they portrayed him in the game, like a little bit of like a dual sense.
I think Chris did state that most of Tukayyid, how you have to pronounce it.
I think they pronounce it Tukayyid.
Tukayyid, yeah. They intersect events from other stories and source books, but it's not like a raw adaptation like of any particular novel. And I think that's a better way to do it, like when you're designing a game. Like as much as there might be some purists like somewhere out there, and you have to do it like this, this is what the book says. You have to follow the book 1-to-1. But like in a game, as long as you don't make like any egregious like lore breaking moment, like you can have a little bit of freedom.
If you stay within the lines, you can color it like you want, right? Absolutely. By the way, can we just take 1 second to appreciate? I don't know who did it, but both the speaker for Anastasius Vogt and his facial animation, especially when he presents Tukayyid as the planet and the way his jaw moves, that is straight up cinema. I love that. That was so amazing. Well done. I just got a grin in my face when I saw that scene.
they definitely improved like their use of metahuman in Unreal. I think they're still using it for it. And like I think in base clans, like you had like a couple of those moments where like teeth were showing a little bit too much, but they're definitely like improving with each subsequent like DLCs and how they use it, and it's much better this time around.
Yeah,
that is definitely true.
All right, shall we talk about the piece de resistance, aka the mechs that we have in the new DLC?
Sure.
Well, we have new mechs that are also available, of course, in the previous campaigns, but both in the base game as well as in the Ghostbear campaign. How did you enjoy the new mechs?
Despite my screen like flashing my eyes, I kind of like the Incubus.
You gotta play with sunglasses on then.
Yeah, you gotta play with sunglasses. But I like the Incubus. I like mechs that have like the option to still like not be too dependent on the heat, like especially like early on. So you have like your MGs as a backup. Like you can put some lasers, and then like if you start like running high on heat, like you can do some stuff. Shadowhawk 2C was a little bit disappointing for me, even though it like clutched me a couple of missions. But I think that has more to do with like the difficulty scaling and like the inaccuracy of SRMs, because it is mainly like an SRM carrier. Yeah, it is like mainly like I did play it. It's mainly like an SRM / ballistic like carrier, and like that's kind of what it is like in Mechwarrior Online as well. I really like it in Mechwarrior Online. Like it, I really do. I actually wrote like I played every single variant. I shared like builds for each one of them. So I was like really.
Unfortunately, though.
I was really familiar with the Shadowhawk 2C, at least like from Mechwarrior aspect, and I played it in clans, and because of like the difficulty scaling, like its LBXs and SRMs are not that effective.
Yeah.
I think they would be more effective at like normal difficulty, but like if you're playing on Trueborn, please just don't touch that thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just it will just not deal enough damage, and it's spreading on top of that. So no,
you need
it's
oodles
it's
of
not gonna
armor
work.
and oodles of pinpoint weapons. That's why I actually ended up. I got the Nova. Not the Nova.
Nova is like much better, of course.
Even, I didn't get the Nova. I got the Stormcrow. Stormcrow. I stuck with the Stormcrow then. Because you can armor this thing up and have
but
like
even
nice
even Stormcrow has a problem that is like it doesn't have open slots in the legs, and if a mech doesn't have open slots in the legs, that means you can't put like additional armor in there, and if you can't put additional armor there, like eventually over time, over many battles that you have in the game, your legs will get scratched, and the moment like that structure becomes open, here comes the dice. Like the enemy will start throwing dice at you and you will lose that leg. You have to be extremely careful.
Goodbye leg. Yeah,
after that point to be but like what other mechs were new? Bane was new. Bane you get to
Incubus
do like giant Daka builds, but once again on Trueborn difficulty, like those UX2s, you would have to be very accurate
or you could go with the Lurm Bane, of course.
Yeah, Lurm Bane is the thing. I think that might actually be a little bit more effective, but once again, it's a spread weapon. So like with all other spread items in the game, -1, like it's not really going to perform all that well, especially like when it comes to difficulty scaling. On normal difficulty, once again, it's probably going to do fine.
Did you see the Leviathan Bane, by the way? Because I know it's in the game, but I didn't unlock it, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, because that would have been the most interesting one of the Banes, I think, for Trueborn.
Yeah, because it gives you like some other options. It gives you like the ability to mix it with some energy as well. But I don't know. Like maybe if I do a NG plus and I get it, then I'll have like a better opinion on it. But still,
so we talked about.
I'm just like a big fan of how the Bane looks. Like in general, like you saw me like when I got first access to it and when I bought it, like I bought it over the box because I just like how the Bane looks. Like the moment when they added the Bane to the Mechwarrior line, I remember laughing my ass off because like it couldn't fit like in the screen of the mech lab, and like people were laughing with me because like I play a 1080p like Mechwarrior line, and like when we first saw the Bane, like it was like camera, it was not big enough, camera was not big enough. It was that wide, and yeah, but it's also like cool. Like I really like the design of the Bane. I'm glad like Bane is finally in the game and you get to see it like with the level of graphical fidelity that clan allows, and once again really impressed with it. But is it like a good mech for clans? Like the way the balance is on higher difficulty, I would say actually no, because you only get like access to smaller weapons, and you would you're much better off like bringing less bigger weapons to do like more pinpoint and smaller weapons where you fire more rapidly, but that also introduces like the chance for you to miss. And if you miss that, if you can't like drill down a component consistently enough, then you're just better off
there
like
might
playing
also
some
be something
big
with
pinpoint.
with the damage resistance though that I felt, because if you look at the Ultra AC2s, for example, the build that you tried as well, that I tried as well, on paper it should have insane DPS, but then on target it felt like it basically does very little.
It feels very weak.
I think there's something, there might be a bug or something with the damage resistance there.
It's possible. Like I haven't looked into the code,
because
nor
of
do
the
I want to bother like looking into the code.
Volume of projectiles hitting at the same time, maybe that's causing some overflow or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
It's possible. Like you never know what spaghetti is like below the surface doing spaghetti
but
things.
You know what we've been forgetting so far?
We've learned that lesson.
We've talked about the Incubus. We've talked about the Shadowhawk 2C, of course. We've talked about the Bane. We didn't talk about the Piece de Resistance. We didn't talk about the Naga enough yet, I would say.
Naga is the strongest mech in the game, bar none. Like as long as you can keep it whole, because once again it suffers like from having no armor at all. It's essentially like a light mech or even a medium mech. Like if you look at its armor values,
it's a glass cannon, straight up glass cannon.
But you just keep it back, or maybe you're the one who's piloting that, and you put like all the other mechs in the front, and you just like nuke stuff, and you nuke stuff with Arrow 4 because like for some reason I don't know if this was intentional or not. Like I think like certain damage values, the splash damage values, are not accounted for properly by the enemy armor on higher difficulties. So you just like end up nuking in a couple of shots. Like you end up nuking whatever is there. You can one shot like the 2 Arrow 4s, like a bunch of light mechs. You can 2-shot mediums and 2.5 shot like heavies, or or whatnot. Like maybe 3-shot heavies, and then assaults are a little bit stronger than that, but still like 4 shots for an assault is like insane.
Plus
like
the
that's
range on
incredibly
top,
quickly.
like what was it, 4,500, and
4,500,
the
yes.
trajectory flying like a javelin missile, getting launched straight up and straight down.
I like how it looks. I really like how it looks.
I think they did a really
I
good
do
job
have
with
to.
that
I do
thing.
have to mention to people. I tried to do that in training grounds. I think like it's called training grounds in Mech 5, and training grounds for whatever reason has like an invisible flight ceiling. So like I was testing my Nagas in there, and I fire my arrow 4s, and like it goes nowhere. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are they not reaching the target? Like, and then I realize, like, I shoot the lasers at the ceiling, and you see that the ceiling is probably like
it's got a skybox,
like 5 more Nagas. Like, it's a very low skybox. So just letting people know that if they notice that, that's because the skybox is like super low there.
Oh well, but hey, you could maybe reach the skybox if you enjoyed the new jump jets or employed them. Have you tried?
Oh
the new
yeah,
jump jets
I talked about
them?
it. I think that's one of the better things. Better. Well, I don't know if I should classify that as QL, but I think I would, and I think like they did it in a very noob friendly way, where if you paid attention, like the moment you press space, you can no longer control your legs, but you start controlling your jump jets.
Yep.
So like once you press space and you press A or D, it's going to move left or right. And if you press W, then it's going to move forward. You can actually, like, if you combine mask, jump jets, and like space and W, you can triple your mech speed, like in the game. Maybe even more than that. Like you can actually make your mechs move really, really fast. Now, I'm not sure if that's a balance concern or not. For most mechs, it's not, but like I remember certain mechs like the Hunchback where I had like just 2 jump jets. I would be able to triple its speed just by jumping forward and like doing like maxing out my speed and pressing space and W, and then just like use that to reposition. yeah, flying. Like I use the flying direwolf quite a bit.
That was fun.
And that thing only has like 1 jump jet. That thing only has like 1 jump jet. So it goes to show. But I really like the like what they're doing with the jump jets.
Way more agile, think, like, way more controllable,
and it doesn't feel overboard. It really doesn't feel like something that's like, oh, well, the game is becoming Armored Core all of a sudden. No, it's not. It's really like I think they dialed it in.
It runs off quite quickly. So you have it enough that you feel it, but it runs off quite quickly.
And you can actually like if you just jump in one spot, like it's just gonna go up. There is no like inherited momentum forward, which I think was a mistake. Like when they were doing Mechwarrior Online, I think they could have done it the same way, because like if they'd done it like that, then there would be much less like jump jet jank. Like where in Mechwarrior Online you have animations like desyncing with like the jumping. Like how like as a developer you have to design like multiple animations for like multiple different states, and then if there is like a transition between like moving backward and forward like a jump jet animations, like your hitbox just jukes out and like things become weird. Or like even like in Mechwarrior Online there's also like a problem when like a landing animations and mechs start hunching a little bit too much forward. Like all that jank is mostly like avoided in clans, and it feels like really good. I'm really glad that they implemented this feature on jump jets, and it makes like using jump jets in a more aggressive manner much more satisfying in clans than in Mechwarrior Online or in Mech 5 Mercs. So I'm glad that they added that, and I applaud them for it.
Yep, I will absolutely agree with that. I think that's one of the really good changes with this DLC.
It will go unnoticed for most people, but like if you do notice it, you will appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let me ask you the most important question now. And I mean, this is a completely open question, but that's a question I always like to ask on YouTube, or an answer that I always like to give. Should you buy Wolves of Tukayyid? What would be your response?
I would say if you're a Mechwarrior fan, then yes. I would say if you're a Mechwarrior fan, then yes. I think like even people coming from the side, like if you're fine with let's say a 16-hour playthrough of a campaign for the price of like what, $20 like DLC, is that correct?
Yep.
Like that's perfectly fine. I'm fine with that, and I think I would, like personally, like I can't say it for others, but personally, like I would buy it. Like I enjoy the campaign. as a Mechwarrior fan, but like then you also have to like look at it from a perspective of people that are maybe not that familiar with Mechwarrior, maybe not that familiar with Battletech. And I think like all of the DLCs and even the base game is a good enough introduction, and I think it's even a better introduction than Mech 5 Mercs. Like Mech 5 Mercs might provide you like with a longer playtime overall, because like if you add up like the playtime in clans and like all the DLCs, you probably get around to like maybe 50, 60, 65 hours of playtime if you do everything, like even if you do the small like multiplayer aspect. Like if you were to play them all. But like I think it's a much more better and much more streamlined introduction to Mechwarrior than Mech 5 Mercs is. And the problem that they have with Mech 5 Mercs is that, like, if you remember the base campaign in Mech 5 Mercs was not even supposed to get like a normal campaign initially. Until Russ was kind of convinced into making it, and then the initial campaign was done really, really badly. Like I didn't like the initial campaign, and in order to pad the time, they also introduced a reputation system, so you couldn't like finish certain missions or start certain missions until you filled until you achieved like certain reputation. So I was also like, I heavily dislike that. I don't like when games do it. And like if you were to introduce like a new player to the Mechwarrior genre and games, like I would definitely do it with clans than that with mercs. And then if they like what they see and have like clans, then they can go and play mercs and decide like if they want to keep on playing, or if they want to play like Mechwarrior Online, see how the multiplayer aspect is behaving, then they can switch to that as well. And instead of going to mercs, like in mercs you get the sandbox experience, but the problems that I always had like with mercs sandbox experience is that it was like relatively shallow. Like I think like Pokemech is like fine for most people, but for me it's just not. Like I would rather have like some kind of the ability, and I know that would basically require like a different game, but you have like all these inner sphere houses and like clans battling each other over control over space, and like how do you influence that? You don't. Like your contributions like are gonna result like in cheaper prices in like one like part of the space, and that's it. That's your impact on the world map. You're not helping like a certain faction capture a planet, but that's mostly because like PGI decided to stick to the lore like 1-to-1 for every year. And I know it's a mercs game, but I still think it's a mistake, and I wish maybe even in clans like they gave us the ability to control that world map, and maybe even like alter history to some extent, where you know you can actually like lead your clans to like victory, you know, and actually change the course of the battle or something like that. I know I'm gonna get like a lot of flack for this from like people who are like very invested in the lore, but when you take away agency from player, where like it doesn't matter what they do, like the map is just gonna follow like lore 1-to-1, then like even if you finish a mission that feels important, you already know what's the outcome. There is like a little bit less investment from the player, and it just, I feel like PGA can done more on that aspect, and feeling like the actions of the player like impact the world more than rather like just sticking to lore 1-to-1.
Did you play the original Wing Commander? You might be too young for that, but in the original Wing Commander, which is like a game from the like late 80s or early 90s, they had branching missions back in that day, where if you failed a mission, then you would get a different outcome, and that would then govern like how the following missions play out. And if you fail too many missions, of course, then the game would fail, but or you would fail your campaign. But that, of course, is more complicated to do, of course, and
it requires
I would love some kind of a system that we have in mercs here, like something where you can just play ad infinitum, where you would, for example, battle with other clans for the right to use certain
and take control of their space and take control of planets, and like take control of a certain factory, and now you can produce like a certain kind of mech, and if you lose that factory, like then you lose
all of a sudden
like,
Clan Smoke Jaguar doesn't suck. How about that?
Like that kind of stuff would be really cool, and I really think it's a missed opportunity that PGI like didn't do it like in any of their games. I know with clans they want to focus on like storyline, like linear campaign storyline, and I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with that, given that the storyline is delivered well. And I know a lot of people like bring up criticism of clans that, oh, we don't have the sandbox aspect in clans. Well, clans was never supposed to be like a sandbox game, and PGI was pretty straight about that, like from the get-go. Like it was supposed to be linear storyline campaign that is basically like one and done. Now the question is like if you're satisfied with what was delivered or not, and it can depend on like various factors. But I do wish we got that kind of a game, TTB, like where we actually get to influence something versus just being there for the ride. I guess like would be the best way to put it.
And the problem with the Mechwarrior lore is that it's all there, right? So they're kind of on rails as far as the lore is concerned. But I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's gonna be too realistic in the BattleTech universe. But I mean, me personally, I prefer the way Clans is done over what Mechwarrior 5 Mercs is. I don't mind Mechwarrior 5 Mercs. I just appreciate a story being told like in Clans and actually taking the fluff out and just basically have the missions of consequence and
pacing is much better. I think pacing in Clans is like much better as a result of like taking out of all that fluff. And like I think every single Clan DLC is better than any single DLC that we got like in Mercs. Bar none.
Absolutely. Even
the storyline delivery is like much better. I think even the mission delivery is like much better.
Yeah, everything.
Like
is
if
much
you
better.
want, if you want the sandbox aspect, sure, go play like sandbox, like in Mech5 Mercs. Go play Pokemech. Like that's fine. Collect your mechs, build your mercenary company, whatever. But like if you want like a consistent story, then I would definitely like pick Clans over any single DLC that was done for Mercs.
That's
even
why
the latest one.
It's the best point for new players to jump in with Clans, and I would 100% agree with that. 100%. That's the best way to get introduced to the BattleTech universe. Jump in with Mechwarrior 5 Clans, see if you like it, if you're not familiar with the system of the game, and then go from there. And if you have friends, dear audience, if you have friends that are not familiar with BattleTech, maybe if you want to get them hooked on BattleTech, maybe start with Clans. I think that's the best point to get people in.
I do have to say one more thing. Sorry to interrupt you. Like I do wish they kind of expanded a little bit more on the multiplayer aspect, like in Clans.
Yeah,
I think they could have done something similar to what like Space Marine has done, with like just a slightly more developed like multiplayer aspect. Maybe not necessarily like the co-op aspect that like Space Marine has. But I don't know. Have you played that game, right?
Yeah, I played Space Marine. Yeah.
Like like it's not like they had the main like storyline and that's like perfect, but they also had like the PvP portion that was pretty basic, but it was still like sufficient, like where it didn't take them like too much time to develop like the PvP like option, but it kind of existed there and you can do it. And like here in Clans, like even though they kind of tried to do it with the first DLC and it received a backlash for justified and like reasons, but I think like PGI like learned the wrong lesson from it. Still like I wish the multiplayer aspect was at least like a little bit more developed like in those modes, and I think it's a mistake that like while I think it is correct that PGI focused on the single player storyline aspect more, that's what they should have done. That was the whole idea behind the Clans as a game. I still think they had like enough room to improve on those aspects for everyone else that's kind of complaining about the overall replayability and of Clans like compared to Mercs.
Yeah, have like dedicated multiplayer missions. That would be
like both PV, right? Both PV and PvP. Something that's basically done. Like I think like the best game that does it, I feel like would be Space Marine 2 because like I played that quite a bit, and like even though the PvP aspect in that game is quite rudimentary, like I still think it's sufficient for those people that I've finished the campaign. What now? I want to play the game more. Well, in Clans, that's kind of it. You can replay the campaign again.
You can farm some stuff.
You can try the arena missions, but arena missions were not developed like sufficiently enough like they were like in Space Marine 2. And same goes for PvP. Like the reason why we only get to play with like 5 people in PvP is because they didn't really want to modify the UI to accommodate like more people. And they could have. Like even though it's still like a peer-to-peer game, it does not use like dedicated servers, but then again, I know Call of Duty titles that were using peer-to-peer. So you could like easily expand it to let's say 8 and you have like a 4v4 or maybe like even 5v5 if you wanted to do it like in Clans and like let people fight it out. It doesn't matter that it's not like perfect networking or whatnot. It's just like there for people to duke it out against one another. And yeah, that's like one of the things that I wish was developed a little bit more for Clans.
And especially if you're on the PvP crowd and you're playing Mechwarrior Online right now, which is a game that has like 13 years of age, which is like
yeah, I'm not even
shooters.
talking about necessarily like a replacement for Mechwarrior Online. I'm just talking
nice
about
to have
like
having
more to do, having something more to do after you finish like the main campaign, like you can do in Space Marine, like you can do in a lot of other games that also had like campaign and something. You don't have to fully develop like the PvP aspect of it or like the PvE aspect of it, like when it comes to mission repetition, but just have something for a player to do after they're done with the campaign.
Yeah, I agree. Like that is something that would be really, really nice to have, and would definitely elevate the game even further, in my opinion, especially in the department of playing with your friends and not going through the same missions, but basically like having a set of missions that of course it also adds complexity. It requires you to invest into that kind of side of the game. You can't just half-ass it, otherwise it's going to be really bad. So I can see why they've not touched on that yet, but hopefully maybe with a future DLC or with a new Mechwarrior 6-ish title, we could get some actual
that's my hope as well. They already have like a lot of systems developed. They probably have like most things in place. So like if they get the green light from Microsoft, the license holder, to develop like a new game, they agree to it. I hope that the new game integrates like all those aspects into one. That they have
a
like
dedicated
a good
multiplayer mode,
campaign, have like a good PvE element, and then have like a good have like a decent or even rudimentary like PvP element to it. So you can have like your entire player base in one product interacting with one another, and if they happen to not like one of those aspects, well, nothing's preventing them or nothing's forcing them to play it, and they might change their mind at some point and then try it out and whatnot. So
exactly. All right, well, I think we touched upon basically all the points that I wanted to discuss. Are there any other things that we have missed in so far?
Did we talk about the UI? I think we talked about the UI.
You want to talk about the UI? Let's talk about the UI. Go for it.
I think like you can kind of inject this like somewhere in the middle, I guess. But like UI, I think is also like a big mistake that PGI like didn't capitalize enough upon in this game. I understand that they're designing for console and that they don't want to make certain things like too small, so where they can't be seen. But I think like both the cockpit design and the UI design is just not good enough in this game. Because like if you're gonna have like your whole UI on the screen, then your cockpit like monitors and all those things, they're just like blocking your field of view. They're blocking your vision. Then minimize them. If that's the case, then minimize them. And if you want your monitors and like cockpit like to actually be important, then you want to go more into the aesthetic UI route, then actually integrate like some stuff on the screen. Like I'm gonna send you like some examples that VR guys did, like VR mod for Mechwarrior 5 Mercs. I'm not sure if you played them. If you played it, have you played it?
I didn't play any VR.
You can actually play it. You can actually play it like on a flat screen, just fine. And I did it like several times just to showcase that diegetic UI is more than possible, like in a Mechwarrior game with like a little bit careful like
also
screen
adds
placement.
more
like
immersion, right? I think they didn't want to do it because they said that if they have like so many different mechs and so many different screen locations and whatnot, that thing was the argument why they didn't include
but
it.
Like if those modders can do it with like a very, very small mod team, I'm pretty sure like PGI can do it as well. It's more a question of like will, like if they're willing to do it, if they consider it to be like worthwhile enough. But like now we got like a very good game in terms of like immersion. Like they improved the level of quality of like even mech textures and biomes and whatnot. The game just looks better like in this DLC compared to even previous DLC and the base game. So it's really like a shame that UI is essentially like flat green like tint that's over your screen, that's like really flat, and then the cockpit is there just to block your field of vision instead of like integrating it in a more natural way where it feels natural.
It doesn't show anything on the screens.
I'll send you some videos of the VR mod, like where it kind of showcases like how the screens look, so you can kind of show it on screen of what I'm thinking about. But like it would be that, but even more optimized, where those guys kind of optimize it for VR goggles and whatnot. You can optimize that for flat screen as well, where like you can clearly see the elements that you need to see on screen, and instead of like a flat text appearing over, you can have like a UI element on your mech, like, and showcasing like that. And it doesn't matter. Like, do you really need the text like of a certain character talking? Like, if you hear them talking, it's more like an accessibility thing. Like, if you understand English, you know, like. It's fine. You can do it at the lower, like a movie text below, like if you really wanted to do it. But I feel like even the UI character like options that pops like in the middle is just like too much. Even when I was playing like at 4K resolution, and like that felt like too large to me. Maybe that's a smaller nitpick, but I do think that's one of the major things that PGI could improve, like implement a more diegetic UI like into the game, just make the game look more immersive. And I think like people would appreciate it. Yeah.
And if you flip the wrong switch, your reactor goes critical. It's stack pull simulator.
Yeah, I don't think they have to necessarily implement switches, but just like the UI elements can be better integrated.
Like they had it in the Mechwarrior 5 mech bay.
Like a cluster cockpit.
Think about the Mechwarrior 5 mech bay, because there you have a little screen for each of your mechs that you can actually interact with. That was kind of cool. And if you had that, I mean, again, like I've heard the point that would be too much effort to do, and they couldn't justify that. But maybe now, when the other things are going well, maybe that is something that they can look into and maybe do some of that, not all of it, but some of that. That would be pretty nice.
I mean, they've accepted like certain aspects of mods where they kind of had like a similar stance to it. This would be like too much to implement, and then like over the course of like Mechwarrior 5 Merc's lifespan, they've kind of brought over a lot of the mod elements into the base game.
Yeah,
and like a lot of the systems got implemented. So like I don't think like it's impossible. Like if a couple of modders can do it, then PGI, like as a studio of like 60+ developers, can definitely do it as well. It's more a question of priority. That's what you always think
as a player. But I mean, one company that would be famous for that kind of thing, where people think that they should be doing it, but nobody's doing it, Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda is like a really special case. I like really don't want to compare like anyone to Bethesda, because Bethesda has their own like quirks and things that they do their own way. And like I remember talking to Tias like some time ago, and like there was a player who said, "Oh, I wish they had like a complete edition like for Mech 5 clans, and I would buy it." Oh, like so I was like, "You want to go Bethesda route? You're gonna have like complete edition, the complete edition plus the complete edition like plus these
anniversary
couple of mods and like
edition.
Small tweaks, anniversary complete. You're gonna have like 15 different editions. So please no, like
HD Game of the Year edition 10 years later.
Yeah. Like, you would have like way too many of them, so you really don't want to go Bethesda route. Just have like the base game and DLCs, let them go on sale. That's perfectly fine. Exactly. Bundle it all together, but don't have like editions. Like maybe there is a case to make an edition once everything is done, but like don't go full Bethesda. Like you don't want to do that. You really don't want to do that.
Well, I think we covered a lot of topics today, and I really appreciate your deep insights. You had a couple of really, really good points. It was a very enjoyable conversation. Where can people find you online?
Mostly just on Twitch.
The link is gonna be in the description.
I stream. Yeah, I mostly stream on Twitch. I guess I'm too lazy to do YouTube. I'm like this fellow content creator here. I'm like just lazier, but yeah, you can find me on Twitch. And that's pretty much magic_pain_glove. Just type that and you'll be able to find. I stream a variety of games, but mostly Mechwarrior games as well. I do stream a lot of niche games, as they like to call it. So sometimes like things that are not like too popular. I just like that, and that's one of the reasons why I still play Mechwarrior Online, because I enjoy it, and I tend to do like that with a lot of other games. Like I play games I enjoy, and I think that's the key thing. I really think that's the key thing. It may not be the best thing for your channel growth, but like if you like what you do, then you will not suffer burnout, and that's kind of it.
Wise words, extremely wise words, and some that I try to live by as well. But yeah, guys, I highly recommend you head on over to MPG's channel, give him a follow, and tune in when he's live. Definitely always a lot of fun to be there and interact with the audience and see the shenanigans that are unfolding. Guys, like we said in this video, should you buy Shadow of Kerensky? That is from us a clear buy. There's a couple of smaller things I would say that are not yet at the point where they should be, but overall it is a good, solid to really good, in some areas, a DLC that I don't think anybody is going to regret buying. So pick it up and enjoy the game. MBG, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, supporters. Couldn't do it without you. If you want to join Team TTB, check out the join button right here on YouTube, super thanks button in the comment section, or of course the links to Patreon or the merch store listed in the video description.